Big exciting news across the board today as Nancy Pelosi says that she's calling off negotiations for your second stimulus package for purposes of the election tomorrow. Well, hello. You know what that means? That means tomorrow afternoon when you hear the crack of her door start to close, it's exactly time for executive orders. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Afternoon's LALATE with big exciting news about why executive orders are so obviously teed up and logical and so obvious to go out if the president wakes up the moment in which Nancy Pelosi closes her door tomorrow. It's literally and figuratively happening like that. What a great day it is. Go to the Finance Channel, subscribe, because we are really figuring out what's important and understanding how to get there. And also like this video. You know, we're at 297,000 followers and we're only 3,000 away. This is really exciting. 3,000 away for 300,000. You know, in this video, I will be going over why tomorrow's deadline actually works beautifully for one big kahuna: the executive orders for stimulus checks. If there was ever a time to understand when and why timing works for executive order for stimulus checks, it's tomorrow. And if there was ever a time for Purple Power to make it very clear to the president, because he doesn't hear it, perhaps because Larry Kudlow keeps on talking about nonsense, it would be today. In this video, I'll also be going over hazard pay, grants, more grants, the existing grants, other grants, and all that and more. So a lot of exciting news. All right, let me get to the breaking news. The breaking news is that the president has almost an e-ticket to set up a very dramatic and very timely announcement for stimulus checks by executive orders tomorrow evening. You remember about a week and a half ago where the president said, I'm calling off negotiations because they're a waste of time and I don't like them. And it came in a tweet and immediately the stock market crashed. Everyone's jaws were dropping and everyone was just sort of shocked. Well, that's really the effect of what's happening tomorrow. Nancy Pelosi is saying that if there's no deal, meaning if you don't give me my deal by the end of tomorrow, stimulus talks for purposes of any stimulus deal before the election, through her office at least, are done. Well, I love a good story. And that tees up a beautiful story. The story is, did you hear the door? That was Nancy Pelosi's door closing Tuesday afternoon because we didn't agree to her ridiculous $2.2 trillion bill that has one stimulus check and a watered-down stimulus check and no hazard pay and bad retroactive FPUC and big bailouts for Andrew and Gavin and massive amounts of money for state and local that they don't need for 3 years. You know what? When I heard that door close, what did I do? I went to my pen in my desk in the Oval Office, and I realized now is when the time to help the American people. And I got the paper out, and I wrote the executive order. Here you go. Here's your stimulus checks. Here's your FPUC. I helped you. I mean, if you like a reality TV show, and you like being on one, and you like dramatics, and you like helping people, and you like timing, and you also understand a debate's coming up on Thursday, it makes so much darn sense. Tuesday afternoon is the most obvious time to start the process for executive orders. You know, the president has put a lot of weight on stimulus since contracting COVID-19. When the president first woke up the next morning in the hospital for treatment for COVID-19, Mark Meadows, his chief of staff, said his first words were, how's that stimulus going? How's that stimulus package going? And ironically, while the Supreme Court nominee people initially thought was going to be the collective focus of the White House in those final days, now 15 days before the election, most people think that the Supreme Court nominee is going to get done. And so the big surprise then is what's going to happen with stimulus. All eyes are on stimulus. All eyes are on stimulus. If you did not see the progression of videos on this channel just since this morning, I was on early mornings LALATE talking about analysts that said on Sunday night that the stock market's going to trade up because they're excited about Pelosi's comments. On Monday morning, I had other analysts that said stock market's about to open. The Treasury bonds yields are really nice now. They're trading in a great position because they think the deal's going to be done. And just on the video before this, stock market down 450 points. They say, I don't know about this deal so fast anymore. Guess what? Everyone's focused on the stimulus. It's now time, Mr. President, to do the executive orders. The amount, how to do it, when it would arrive, how much, the timing. Let me go over all that great stuff right now. And I don't do it on every video because I think it's sort of obvious after a certain period of time, but then there's some people who are new to this channel, so let me go over all the nuances. First, can he do it? Absolutely, categorically, yes. I thought he needs Act of Congress to approve it. No. That's when the money is in Treasury. He needs an act of Congress to take money out of the Department of Treasury and do something with it. This money's not in Treasury. It's not in Treasury. He's confirmed it's not in Treasury. Steve Mnuchin has confirmed it's not in his own Treasury Department. Everybody's confirmed it's not in Treasury. I was the first to tell you it's not in Treasury. How much money is it? That's sort of the unclear statement because we have heard at least 500. I've been adding the points of different people from the administration. They said something here and something there, so I've been adding them up, and I get them at about 800 billion. It's definitely not 300 because when it was 300, that was before it included other things which Steve Mnuchin had added on. Where is this money, and why is this money sitting around? It's sitting around because in CARES Act 1, the first stimulus package, they had a program called PPP for loans. It was a big program, hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars. Well, not everyone wanted the loan. Not everyone needed all that money. And so when the program was over, and guess what? The money was still sitting there. So where does the money go? It goes nowhere. It just sits there. That was the first one. A few months later, there was another round of PPP, and then there was another round of PPP. And that PPP also had excess. By the second PPP, there was so much excess when the program, again, was over, that they looked and they're like, God, a lot of people didn't want this PPP. I recorded videos at the time. I said, it's a horrible program. Don't do PPP. Guess what? No one did PPP. They didn't like it. It didn't rub people right, so the money sat there. And that's why there's so many hundreds of billions of dollars of PPP. One, we do know it's PPP now. I was the first to report to you as PPP. We now know because the White House confirmed it. Second, we know that it can be repurposed because the White House has talked about it being repurposed, and Larry Kudlow's talked about repurpose. And Steve Mnuchin's statement to press 2 weeks ago said repurpose the money. Three, it can land in your hands 10 days thereafter. Steve Mnuchin has always said the electronic sending out of money from anything in the White House or around the White House is much faster than before. So he says about 10 days from the day in which something becomes law, it could land in your bank account electronically. This is incredibly great news. So how would this be done? It would be done by executive order unless there's executive order existing. More about that in a second. And then how would the president, how much money would we get? Well, this is what's really interesting here. $300, not $300, $300 billion is what it costs to do one $2,000 stimulus check round. If you did two stimulus check rounds, it's about $600 billion. Okay, you got another $200 billion sitting around. What do you do with that? You give that for FPUC. All right, so do we need an executive order? Guess what? For stimulus checks, you do. For FPUC, you don't. He's done this before. He has an executive order. I know it has a $100 threshold in it. But for everyone else, he has an executive order on the books. Has he done this before? Yes. He did this with FEMA. FEMA had all this money sitting around for fire and natural events, earthquakes and tornadoes. And he said, FEMA, you got some money sitting around. We're going to use it. Oh, what are we going to use it for? We're going to use it for enhanced unemployment benefits. But I'm FEMA. I don't do unemployment. Yet, well, you're doing it now. And that's what he did. And so there's always someone that says, I don't think he can do something. He's never done something like this. God, where have you been? FEMA and LWA was a big hit. Initially thought had a lot of naysayers, but eventually almost every state did it. And so with that, how about EIDL grants? How about hazard pay? How about CMC grants? How about local grants? Okay, let's get to it right now at the 10-minute mark. First, existing grants, meaning not grants that we're waiting around for someone to pass a bill about that's in Congress. Existing grants, they're there. There is a lot of money in the use or lose money. What is this? Okay, under CARES Act 1, the first stimulus package, there was $150 billion given to state and local to be used for grants and to be used on you. And what they have done is they've not used the money. And so now they have a deadline coming up that they have to use it or return it, use or lose. And some cities have fortunes. Fortunes. Every single day or every few days, I go over, okay, this city announced a new grant program. Yesterday I announced Virginia. I went over one in Virginia. I went over one in, what was it, Maryland yesterday or Tennessee? Every day I go over another one to just sort of give you an example of them out there. What you need to do is you need to, if you do not have a delegate or you're not a delegate yourself, go on Google News and look for grants plus your city or plus your county plus CARES Act, CARES Act. And you don't have to even put CARES Act on it, but it might help the results. You're looking for news articles. You're not looking for web results. You're looking for news articles because basically what happens is that you'll pull out the newspaper and it'll be a news article say, hey, we just announced, City Council here announced we're giving a grant to people that did this. Oh, I didn't hear that. Well, yeah, we're not supposed to be very vocal, and so they just announce it, and that's it. If you don't hear it, you miss it. I've had a lot of success stories, tons and tons and tons of success stories. I have success stories that go all the way back to May on this channel, April. I mean, every month, every few weeks, there's a big success story of someone that watched this channel and understood the importance of grants, whether it's rent or hazard pay or food or they have all said thank you. I found it because of your channel. Now understand, you need to empower yourself to do it yourself. I can't look for a rent grant in Knoxville, Tennessee for you between the month of March and April. I'm one guy. I can't do all this. But that's why I inspired you with what's called the delegates. Again, these are not supervised by me. These are people who are here to volunteer to help you find this information if you're not good with a computer. So go on Twitter and do the hashtag P plus your state. So if you're California, hashtag PCA space hashtag LALATE. Florida, hashtag PFL space LALATE, hashtag LALATE. And they will potentially help you. Also, if you're a delegate, make yourself be seen so other people can turn to you for help. And if you can't find someone in your state, maybe you just find another delegate that might be able to search for you. It doesn't take a long time. And if you don't find it that day, look another day, because these things are being announced all across the board. All right, how about grants that are coming, that aren't here but are coming? All right, the stimulus bill from Mnuchin has a lot of grants in it. Oh my goodness. It has the EIDL grant in it. It has a CDC grant in it for frontline workers. It's very hazard pay-ish. It has money for state and local, $300 billion. That's only to be used as grants for people's salaries if they're a frontline worker. And then there's hazard pay. Purple Power, do your thing. We're pushing to get hazard pay back in the bill. Just because Nancy Pelosi took it out doesn't mean we're going to sit back and not put it back in. What I mean is the following. You see what's happening. You see, 15 days before the election. You see the inauguration. You see all these things happening. Are we supposed to sit back and say, okay, we took out hazard pay. We're happy with that? No. Put it back in there. Who told you to take it out? Drew, let me get to some of your incredible 600 questions from yesterday. Dreamweaver, good afternoon, Paul, LALATE. I would not put anything past Mitch or any of them. Suzanne, why don't they put Nancy on the street corner? Joe Lopez, Mitch McConnell's not thinking, how are they going to bail out businesses when no one has the money to spend on businesses? Madeline, President Trump do executive orders. Amen. Julie, McConnell just wants to throw a monkey into the wrench. Timothy, if they want to show their seats, then give us stimulus. If they want to keep their seats, then give us stimulus. Diana slapping Mitch's hand with a fly swatter. White Witch, he's using it for something else. Linda Bonet, can Mitch still use Trump's MSC money? That's going to come up in the next video after this. Everyone's referring to that bill tomorrow, which I've talked about a lot. Boy, tune into that video coming up next. Connie, all these clowns are for themselves. Melissa, of course Mitch wants to get that money to his wealthy friends. Phyllis, why isn't Trump giving executive orders? Daryl, thank you, God, for LALATE and all the research you do on behalf of the American people. Repeat and turn to our wickedness. In Jeremiah, God said to all the people of Israel, pray for prosperity, then land for the hope. You too will prosper, God, and bless America. Well, thank you, Darrell Barnes, for that beautiful message 20 hours ago. Sean Gray, Mitch needs to take a break. Rodriguez, Mitch is crazy. Kevin, nobody's going to vote on this little miserable man, Mitch. Linda, isn't Trump over Mitch, or is Mitch the president? It's just all a big hot mess. Go to Friends channel, subscribe, because we're going to get through this together. We're going to get over the finish line together. 300,000 subscribers, just a step away. And your stimulus, we got all our eyes on who we got to do to get our stimulus. Also, like this video. Coming up next is that big development about McConnell versus Trump. Don't miss that. And then Pelosi versus Mnuchin. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, and stay FLA for more.